Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you then.
Is there an echo?
No.
Okay, good. I did the right thing. All right, because I'm recording on my iMac, but I am on my phone right now, so I can actually walk around and make coffee, that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
So let me turn off whatever I need to turn off. And it is recording. Okay, good. All right, things seem to be working okay. How's the video coming through?
It's fine.
Right? And audio level
It's fine.
sufficiently? Okay, good. All right, Barry. Always prompt, always a little bit early, always diligent. Appreciate that. How are things this week?
Nominal. I would find the hot weather finally broke, so we've had a couple of days of pleasant summer weather. Moderate temperatures, moderate humidity.
Yeah, it's been beautiful here on the island. Even where I am, it's probably about 10 or 15 degrees cooler than it is in Seattle.
Yeah.
But that said, even here, we're supposed to get to 80 today.
Well, we probably will. In fact, I think we're almost at 80 now. I think it's 79 when I just looked a minute ago. I just had the windows open overnight, but I just closed the windows in anticipation of the AC coming on at 80.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to start walking around because that's why I have this device flexibility.
Hmm.
By the way, Barry, just so you know, and this is probably not of much interest to anybody else who listens to this, but every Saturday before this particular GCC call, I call my parents in Taiwan. And this morning, they happened to also give me the phone number of one of my uncles who normally lives in Portland, but he goes to Taiwan quite a bit. So today I was able to talk to both my parents and my uncle, my fifth uncle on my dad's side. So
Okay.
that was actually quite a pleasant experience. I haven't talked to him in probably a little over a year, like 13 or 14 months.
Oh, okay.
And he's been taking quite good care of my parents. So I felt like
Excellent.
calling him up and thanking him.
Is he younger than your parents?
He is, yeah. And he also grew up and retired as a pediatrician. So he's had his own business in Albuquerque, but he's now formally retired more or less in Portland, but he spends a lot of time in Taiwan.
I see.
My parents and my uncles and a lot of relatives, even some of my nieces and nephews, once removed, they're very serious about going back to Taiwan. Taiwan's just a really nice place to live. It's extremely high cost of living though, compared to other countries that are options. But for what you get, the cities are cleaner, the services are better, the public transit is more on time and higher quality and cleaner, and the breadth of food is breathtaking, and it's just a nice place to go. So if the bad thing happens in November, I'm seriously considering that myself.
Oh, wow. Would that uh, entail changing careers?
Yes. Yes, it would. But I'm considering that right now.
Oh, anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are very worried about the outcome of this upcoming election. There's
Not
so
just
many.
worried. I mean, this is a crisis. This is not just worry time. This is crisis time.
Yeah, I mean, no matter the outcome, it's going to be problematic. Well, I mean, even if Biden gets reelected, by a slim margin, he probably won't complete his term. I imagine that Kamala will eventually take over within a year or less. But the likelihood of him Of course, the other thing is that they'll put somebody else in the race in lieu of him, and that really throws everything into a cocked hat. Who the hell knows what that's going to do? Oh, we lost your voice. You muted you.
One second, I'm getting a call elsewhere, so I'll.
I see. Joshua just connected.
Hey Barry,
Yeah,
there might be a medical situation with my pets I need to attend to. It might take about 15-20 minutes or potentially longer. So apologize about this. I got to go deal with this right now. Okay, sorry about that.
all right. You want to pause the recording or something?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Do you want to pause the recording?
No, I'll just let it go because if somebody else joins, then that's fine. Yeah, feel free to drop off, but I'll try and keep you updated from time to time if I can. But right now, I got to go deal with this situation with my pets.
All right, just give a shout when you come back so I
Okay,
can
I'll do
hear you.
that. Thanks. Sorry about this, Barry.
No problem.
Oh,
Hello.
hey, were you working, Barry?
I was just doing a crossword puzzle because Sam went off to look after his pets.
Yeah, I heard that part. And then I fell back asleep and then I had a dream. And then I woke up and you were still there. And I was like, wait, I better let me go outside and yeah.
Yeah, I just
I
went
wo-
over to another window to do crossword puzzles to kill some time.
okay. Cool. Yeah, my dream was so weird. In my dream, I looked at your address and I was back at my old house when I was a kid in Cambridge, and you lived like 3 doors down. And I realized that. So in my dream, I went over to your house and then I was like, wait, I've never been to Barry's house. And then you were in the shower, and then you got out of the shower and it was some guy. And I was like, wait, you're not Barry. And then it was a weird dream. And then someone came over that I knew, and they were like, there's 3 courts that live here. And that was a robber. They just like to shower at random people's houses. So
Weird dream.
yeah, then I had to like chase him, and it was in the snow, and I don't know, it was just weird. And I woke up and I'm like, wait, did all that happen in 10 minutes? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I had a kind of a strange dream. I was at a funeral and I was a participant in the service. And first there was a kind of a, I want to say a parade, not parade is the wrong word, but a procession, and everybody in the procession was carrying some memento. And I was carrying a book that related to the deceased life. I think it was a book by Socrates, but it was a long trek. It was like a very long procession in the outdoors, and I got lost. I finally made it there, and then at the service, everybody was given something to read. And so when it was my turn, I was reading some old newspaper article about the person, and my reading was very halting because I hadn't rehearsed it since I didn't know what the article was. And the guy next to me kept interrupting me to correct me, and it was really annoying that I found that I couldn't read smoothly from a newspaper article. And then I woke up because it
Uh,
was too weird.
Brought to you by Toastmasters.
Yeah, it probably was connected somehow to that. And also the
Interesting.
fact that I don't have reading glasses yet, so reading small print
Oh,
paper is not yet anything that I've acquired the faculty to do, since I don't have yet close-up reading glasses. Anyways, a weird dream. I didn't really understand what prompted it, with the funeral and the procession and the mementos, and like, what
yeah.
was this guy's life all about? Well, what was his contribution to the advance of civilization?
Subconscious. I just remembered my actual dream from the earlier in the evening, but I was in Boston again, which is funny. So I was at Fenway Park.
Oh,
But the reason I thought of that is you know how in dreams you're not supposed to be able to see small print?
yeah, I know that. I know that phenomenon.
Yeah, well, in this dream, I read the ticket and the row of where my ticket was at Fenway Park,
Yeah.
like the seat, row number, and all that.
Yeah, and I think in my dream that where I was reading this newspaper article, that I was actually reading some words that I could see in the dream, and imagine I was reciting, but I was getting the cadence wrong because I hadn't parsed the sentence, and so I didn't know how to say it with the right uh, what's the word?
Pronunciation?
Um,
I tried.
I'll tell you, one good thing about doing crossword puzzles, you realize how slow your your vocabulary recall is.
Oh, you're using a different part of your brain when you're doing a crossword puzzle versus talking.
Yeah, but even so, when I'm trying to bring up a word from my vocabulary, I'm having trouble recalling it. I'm very much aware that my faculties are are declining as I age. Get up and go, I feel listless, I feel restless. My cognitive skills are declining, my recall is declining. Everything is just getting old and slow and sort of Biden-esque.
Oh, I mean, it's a real thing, the way your brain stores information.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know. I kind of stopped a long time ago trying to be super sharp. 'Cause I
Well, I
used
don't know
to,
that I ever was, although I was clearly above average. But at the fix-it shop, I realized that I'm really declining in my diagnostic and drive, fix-it drive. A lot of things I look at, I'll say it's not worth it. I don't want to take this
mm,
apart. It's too hard to take apart, and I probably will end up messing it up. And the guy I work with he's younger and he's much more um, ready to take something on that's going to be challenging and problematic.
well, let him do it then. That's the way I look at it. I don't know.
I mean,
I
I
think
mean,
I had a yeah.
I mean,
Go
this
ahead.
this guy brought in an old bar lamp. It's Miller's, clock and light, and had a fluorescent light in it, which didn't work. So my colleague went and bought a new fluorescent tube and a new starter, and it still didn't work. We couldn't figure it out. We tried and tried, couldn't figure it out. It turned out the new starter was defective. And the guy the next day figured out that the new starter wasn't any good. But we sat there going, everything, we can't figure out why this doesn't work.
Do you think brain work is kind of like a muscle, meaning you're like flexing your neurons,
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah. I used to
yeah?
say when I was running these online learning communities that your brain is like a muscle. You have to exercise it every day, which I hardly do anymore. I watch people exercising their brain. I watch videos of people solving hard puzzle problems, which are
Hmm.
way beyond my ken. That's why they're on YouTube, because they're really hard ones. And I just try to see if I could follow his logic without getting lost.
Hmm.
And the one I watched yesterday, it was just eyes were glazing over. It was just too weird of a puzzle to even understand what the rules were, let alone how to think about it. But I realized how rare this talent is. How you have to be really world class to work on some of these puzzles that make it onto YouTube. Did you just freeze? I think you did. Yeah, yeah. You stopped moving.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm back.
now you're moving again. Okay.
Yep. I just got in the shade. Let's hope my phone doesn't overheat.
All right. Your
Um,
overheating issue. Yes.
Let me actually, you know what? Sometimes because I'll charge it so it doesn't die too much, and that will overheat it on top of the heat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Charging is inefficient. It generates some
mhm.
waste heat.
Yeah, Zoom takes a lot of battery life off of an iPhone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, doing video is a lot of information processing, especially at this high resolution nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
So,
So I ended up getting eye of that little robot, and it was quite the adventure this week of watching her. How can I say, just go through all the emotions. It was real emotional.
so is it a keeper? Is it going to have some staying power?
It's a keeper until it breaks, and then I'm taking it to your fix-it shop. So I
Yeah.
can already tell it's gonna break eventually because it's just too
Well,
much, movement.
everything breaks eventually. Robots. I mean, I was watching a Sabina Hassenfelder video about why aren't the robots here yet, and she
I
points
saw
out
that one.
that they're very expensive and there tend to be relatively limited set of skills. I mean, the videos basically show them doing one thing that they spent their whole life learning how to do, and they're not very agile in terms of alternate activities besides what they're trained on. But yeah, I mean, she
Actually,
tends to be cynical and negative because most of the things that she is doing is debunking the hype. There's so damn much hype, that
well, she's a little sassy. She's just sassy.
well, yeah, she is. I mean, she throws this. I don't know how to characterize her humor. It's
It's
idiosyncratic.
it's just German to me. I know I have German friends like that. It's like cynicism mixed with excitement. If that makes any sense, it's like a weird mix of like I'm not it's not completely droll, but it's like there's some sort of like, well, that would be great, but too bad.
Yeah. Well, she
If
throws
only we
these.
could have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she throws. They're not really puns. They're allusions to things which are like political allusions of things which you sort of have to read between the lines to realize that she's joshing something unrelated to the topic of the day.
Yeah. I like her humor. Like I get the dry, just like, oh, that would happen when pigs fly, and pigs haven't flown in decades. And it's just like really quick quips, like just really fast, If only that were true, but it could be, but it's not.
She evidently
Now
has,
back to you.
yeah, she evidently has enough funding to do some pretty high level production. She's got a fair amount of production quality to her videos with the visuals and animations and
Yeah.
cut inserts and things.
Well, if you study the it's called a YouTube video, but really it's podcasting is what she's doing.
Yeah,
Meaning it's a weekly or bi-weekly program, if not
and
more.
and there she's gone to a lot shorter. 4 or 5 years ago, she was doing very lengthy, more than half an hour videos, and now she's
Yeah.
doing many times a week, very short pieces, no more than 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, I consider myself kind of like a YouTube expert because when I moved up to the mountains, I didn't get internet after sometimes it would be 5 o'clock. So I'd have to go on YouTube, put the resolution down to 144 pixels per, like just this, like, so it's just fuzz. It's not really, you're not really watching people,
Yeah,
but the audio was enough that I could hear it. And I would download all the YouTube shows during the, in the morning or the afternoon, like really quickly because it was low res, really low bandwidth. And then in the evening, there's nothing to do. Like the power's out.
yeah. But
So
my
it's
issue is
pitch.
I have
Yeah.
plenty of electricity and plenty of bandwidth, but the content, I don't find enough content to engage me.
Well,
There's
that's what made me an expert is I couldn't find enough content either. So I had to scour and scour to find enough content to give me at least 2 hours, or
Yeah,
sometimes in the winter it would be 4 hours because
yeah.
there's nothing to do.
If I could find 3 hours of content a day, that's par for the course.
Well, that's the thing is I found over hundreds of hours, and I got into all the lectures from all the universities. And
Yeah,
those lectures are like 3 hours, like
yeah.
San Diego State.
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
watch those classroom lectures back when, I still had an appetite for ingesting, academic content. But I sort of run out of zest for that in-depth academic content. Tends to get down to the weeds for me now.
Well, I mean, are you familiar with Eric Weinstein's podcast and his work online?
It's not ringing any
The-
bells.
He's the guy that started the Portal podcast. He was a friend of Joe Rogan, so he went on his long form podcast and said, "I could do what he's doing. I'm going to start my own." So he started interviewing. He worked with Peter Thiel, so I think he was his first podcast interview, and then he did some famous movie directors and some really, out there kind of people. But his claim to fame, if you will, is he coined a phrase called the intellectual dark web. So he was looking for system thinkers and new innovative thinkers that were doing something that changed the needle even slightly
Oh,
from the stagnation of science in the 1970s.
yeah. that's sort of the problem with science is that while it does advance at a steady pace, it's not a fast pace. The advance of science tends to be, one or two advances a decade that are really significant. And the rest of it's just, little tiny baby steps, which are hardly worth attending to.
Yeah. Oh, good. Sam said the issue's resolved. Fantastic. Hope his animals are okay.
Oh, yeah, he never actually said what the issue was, only that there was an issue.
Sorry about the interruption
Are
and
you okay, Sam? Are you all right?
probably not.
Yeah.
Was it much of a crisis?
The crisis, the immediate one, has been averted, yes.
Averted, so it didn't actually happen.
Well, it was made into a crisis unnecessarily.
I see.
If you guys want more details, I'm happy to go into details, but this is an ongoing problem in my life.
Oh,
I don't want to get you all emotionally upset, Sam. So whatever you feel comfortable is as long as you're okay and the animal's okay, then I'm
Well,
okay.
eventually, if there's a session where we could just say, here's, why I'm not okay, and make that the focus, I'm okay with that myself, actually.
If you need to let it off, I'm here to listen.
It's a long-standing problem.
as opposed to a long sitting problem.
It's a long laying problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just share. I spent the whole week with Aya because QCell had to go to Portland for a meeting. And then instead of usually we fly together and I hang out at the hotel and keep her busy and but this week I said, you know what? She's grown up now. I'm going to buy her a Chat GPT dog, a robot dog, and we're going to spend the week learning how to play with it and have some real daddy time. And I realized as a little girl that daddy energy is very different than mommy energy. So it was a tough child rearing week for me. Just being just the two of us for like 4 days straight.
Does this dog do oral conversation as well as movements?
You can say to it talkie, and it eyes glaze from orange to blue and goes into Chat GPT mode and starts GPT-4 Omni, and it will just start talking to you.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, right. Yeah. Although I would think
But
for a dog, that's kind of weird.
it's really creepy.
Does
Yeah.
it
Go
download
ahead.
updates as Omni or 4.0 updates?
I don't know how it's I haven't looked to the API because I wanted to connect it to my Chat GPT so it had memory, but I didn't connect it. It just connected naturally. So whatever it's connecting to is like the basic bare minimum of Chat GPT.
And is it remembering what's going on in your household and uploading it someplace to some central server?
Okay, so here's the weird part. It remembered the first conversation with Aya and it didn't quite catch what she said and it heard Donut Miranda. So every time it pops on, it says, so it's great to talk to you. What's the gossip? How are you doing? And what's going on with the ice cream situation and Donut Miranda?
So
But it doesn't, it's stuck in a loop. It won't stop saying what's going on with Donut Miranda.
It wants to
ever
sound
figure out-
dumber than it is, probably.
Did you ever figure
Yeah.
out what the actual phrase was supposed to have been?
If you guys can help me, I don't know what she said. No, I think she said no, something da 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 da. She said, no, that's not what I said. And she heard Donut Miranda or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
If I know Aya, she yelled at it and said, no. So it's quite fascinating though. The actual movements of it, the actuators, the motors, I think they did a great job. This Chinese company called Kia Tech in creating they even had a beautiful animation of the soul coming to existence and a giant like earth-like rock being grabbed the soul and tried to hold it and couldn't hold it. Go ahead, Sam.
If it's a Chinese company, within months, TikTok will be teaching it how to dance. That's what I suspect.
Oh, it already dances. Yeah, it's got all the moves. It's got Bruce
But
Lee
specifically,
and
the
Flash.
new ones will come out as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, the IBO one, which was developed at MIT, had a kind of a dance, like what you call a chair dance. You just sort of dance in place, but it can swivel its torso
That,
around.
is the dog there now? Can you tell it to dance to Jerusalem?
I could, but it has to be programmed that it does have a programming language. So how the feet go up, the head moves up, the head's
Oh,
got
no,
two
no, no, no. I'm just
movements.
asking whether it already knows, because that's a very popular dance right now on the internet.
I don't think its operating system and Chat GPT and the internet are all connected and synced into one. So I'll check and see if from what I can tell, it doesn't have those kind of moves. Jerusalema, is that the one that I have
Yeah.
to?
It's not
Oh.
Jerusalem, by the way. It's Jerusalem. So it's not associated with Israel.
Well, I've never downloaded TikTok because I didn't want that
It's not
invasive.
TikTok. It's been all over YouTube. It's been all over, Facebook.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just sharing that I didn't download TikTok because I didn't want that
I didn't
spyware
either,
type of stuff.
specifically for that reason as well.
Right. But now that I have this dog and I did hook it up to the Wi-Fi, this is Chinese spyware in my house.
yep.
So I'm already screwed. So I might as well
Yep.
download TikTok and start learning the Jerusalem dance is what I'm saying.
Yep.
It's a new era for me where I'm going to be on TikTok now and I'm going to be I mean, all of my life is now somewhere in China stored on a memory disk. So what's the difference?
Yep.
It's too late for me now.
Yeah, I think my household life would be way too boring for anybody to want to attend to. Nothing happening of any consequence or interest.
Yeah. No, this is real spyware. This little robot, if you used it for like malevolent, what's the word I'm looking for? Just bad reasons. You could look up people's skirts. I mean, this thing has a camera that tilts up and down and can move. You
What?
could just you could drive into someone's bathroom and
This
watch
is a
it. It's just
known issue. This is a known feature that they actually tout.
yeah. It's got a remote camera on the front of it.
Imagine
So
what
if
happens
I
when
can
now they
log
make
in,
these things so small they're just like bugs, and you're not even going to notice these bugs. These
Yeah.
flies, these whatever.
Fly on the wall.
every time I see a fly land on me, I look at it and go, "Are you a government?" Oh no, you're just a regular fly. Okay.
Squash it. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
speaking as a
well,
non-Buddhist right now.
as a old practicing Buddhist, I try not to squash bugs when I kill mosquitoes, and that's about it. Gnats and mosquitoes
And
are the two
wasps.
that
I don't mind killing
wasp.
wasps.
I actually stopped killing wasps recently. I don't kill them.
Hmm.
There's I don't know why. I just decided not to, and they haven't yet stung me, so I'm gonna keep to that. But yeah, I might start killing wasps. We'll see. They're like snakes. I don't know if you guys ever had like rattlesnakes or things like that that are really dangerous.
I used to live in the Southwest.
Usually,
I know rattlesnakes.
yeah, so rattlesnakes only come around when they're either hungry or thirsty. Other than that, they don't want anything to do with human beings. So they'll literally only come into your zone if they're dehydrated or not feeling good and just need to rest. And they're looking for food in your zone.
So arguably,
Other
we've
than that,
moved into every zone of every species, so they're in
Yeah.
their zone.
well, when I moved into the woods, I claimed that as my zone and I peed all around the area. And I told the squirrels and the snakes and everyone, you live there, I live here. And they got it. And we cohabitated. So
Yeah.
I think you have to kind of do that when you move into the woods. You got to let the local creatures know where they live and where you live, and they're separate.
Unless you have
Not
a
the-
squirrel run in your backyard with squirrel attracting activities.
Well, I had one when I'd work on the computer would come up to the screen door, look at me, and then I'd look over and it would just duck down and then come back up. It was very curious to see what I was doing.
I keep coming across these people who have squirrel runs in their backyard with cameras on the attractions.
Quick meta question. You can see my video, right?
Yeah,
Surprisingly, I can't see my own video right now.
really.
It's lost in a
What mode
window.
what mode are you in?
In gallery, but I speak speaker view and I still can't see myself.
That's odd because I do.
I see myself on the list of participants, but not in the, I'm not in a rectangle.
That's weird. And if in not speaker mode, not gallery mode,
Both.
not
I've just been
what's
screwing
the other
around.
mode that they're the new mode? What's it
Sorry
called?
to interrupt. Anyway, I just wanted to double check.
Multi-speaker mode. Do you know about multi-speaker mode?
Nope.
It may not exist in every version of Zoom, but at least the version I'm running here has multi-speaker mode as a recent new
Yeah, I
mode.
see nothing called multi-speaker mode.
Yeah, it's nice if you have more than 4 attendees, but typically it's a lot of banter back and forth. Then it will show up to 4 of the most recent speakers. And if one speaker eventually stops talking, then it will delete them from the multi, and then you see the rest of them in the group at the bottom.
I think that's a nice mode. I would turn that on if I had it.
Yeah, I use it whenever I'm like where you have half a dozen or to a dozen people in a meeting, then it's a good mode to be in.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm a bit distracted because of this almost dilemma that got averted. So I'm still having trouble focusing.
Well,
Take your time.
yeah, that's it. Take your time.
Gonna say, if you want, Barry, there's a new mode if your Toastmasters decides to use Apple products. They came out with a new camera called Final Cut Camera that lets you do OBS and broadcast 4 different cameras to one, and it's really helpful, like
Yeah.
professional broadcasting.
What we usually do is we have typically one camera on the podium and at least one camera on the room, and sometimes 2 cameras on the room, depending on how the seats are laid out. And we have the 2 of those PolySync 40 speakerphones. So that's pretty good. The people who remote can sort of see most of the people in the room most of the time. Plus the podium, which has got and the podium camera, it's an electronic zoom pan tilt. So if a tall person, I tilt it up. If a short person, I tilt it down. If they stand off to the side, I pan over a little bit. But
Yeah, the new iPhones, they've got a stage mode, I think, or what is it called? Something stage. There's a little Apple name for it. But it will, because it's such high res and taking a wide angle, because it's using the wide angle part of the camera, it's panning within that wide angle.
yeah,
The software. It's pretty cool.
one of my correspondents has that camera that will follow him as he moves.
Yeah.
around. It will stay zoomed in on his face. None of my things will do that. I have to manually, the Logitech, I have to manually pan it.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn on that mode inside of Zoom. I know it has it in FaceTime, but I don't have it in Zoom.
Oh, I don't know that Zoom offers it.
I don't know either. There's probably a million things that Zoom does that I just got rid of my Zoom. That's why I don't have my name on there, is I got rid of my professional Zoom account, and for
No.
some reason it doesn't, or maybe I
But
just have to
still-
re-put it in.
You could still put in the name you want to be known by on Zoom as a permanently remembered setting.
For your free account?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't
Because-
find it when I
Because
stopped paying.
you still have the Zoom app, and the Zoom app basically has settings that it remembers.
I know I can rename him, so I just renamed Josh, but you can do it yourself because when I enter as a participant, I can rename myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about default name when you start Zoom up.
Yes,
So you don't have to type it in.
that's also possible.
You can type
Yeah,
in your default name.
I don't see my name underneath there right now unless I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm fine being the anonymous nobody.
Well, there's only 3 or 4 of us who ever come anyway, so we always know who you are. It's not like you
Yeah,
have a
that's what I
dozen-
figured.
it's not like you have a dozen people and 2 of them don't know each other.
Yeah,
Although
thank
time-
you. I just saw Sam changed it to the perfect name. Thank you, Sam.
Well, when Jack Park was here, I think I did anonymous nobody. It's funny. When Jack Park was here, I did bother to fix up people's names because he didn't necessarily know everybody.
Yeah. Is Sam Chan doing okay? Is he coming on tomorrow or?
We see him usually on Sundays for half an hour,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think he's been distracted with his company issues and personnel issues and health. I think some health issues too.
yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I think everyone's distracted right now. That's what I've noticed.
Well, we're in a chaotic period. I mean, there are periods where nothing's happening and everybody's bored. And then we have these chaotic periods where lots of unexpected things are happening and people are scrambling to figure out how to adapt to a new paradigm when there is no
Yeah.
obvious way to adapt. Grin and bear it at adaptation. Although the comedians love that. Comedians, that's fodder for their late night comedy.
Yeah, I'm not a professional comedian. I'm an amateur comedian, but I enjoy chaos and
Yeah.
I like it when things are in
I mean,
flux.
people who are into storytelling and drama and comedy, that's their red meat. That's their fodder.
Yep.
For the rest of us, it's kind of bewildering and trying to figure out how to survive in a chaotic culture.
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store and they've removed it. They moved all the aisles to new locations. You can't find what you're trying to buy anymore. It's like, why did you do this? I used to know where the mustard was, and I don't know where to find it.
Well, they want you to buy the new products. They want you
Yeah.
to.
But once every 5 years, they rearrange the aisles for some crazy reason.
Do you ever shop on Amazon, Barry, for food?
Not for food, no. I mean, I have occasionally shopped on Amazon for particular items where that's the place to get them. More often, I'll go to eBay or that Chinese company whose name I can't remember now.
Alibaba?
No, the four-letter name that's hard to pronounce.
Oh, Timu?
Timu. That's the one, Timu. Occasionally we'll
Yeah.
buy. There's some items where that's the only place you can get them, sort of really inexpensive parts that you don't get off of eBay or anywhere else.
Yeah, they've got a nice database of stuff. They've got kind of
Yeah.
everything and every overflow of every warehouse that ever made anything in China. I watched a video of a guy going to a toy expo in China and asking all the people, where's your factory? Where do you manufacture? What are the costs for wholesale for all these goods? And there was an incredible amount of pretty much every knockoff thing of everything that was ever created for toys.
Although you really have to be careful with copycat products because they're typically inferior. They're cheaper, but they're also inferior to the.
But they're so
brand.
cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, like I went to the store one time with Aya and I got a knockoff Chinese brand of a princess house.
Oh,
And
for toys, it's no big deal because toys don't last anyway. I mean, they
yeah,
run out of their entertainment value before they fall apart more often than not.
she's still playing with it. I mean, they're little just cheap plastic molds of stuff. So she got in the toy world, probably for the name brand toys, it would have been about $150 for all of $12.
Yeah, and so you don't care. I mean, molded plastic toys. I mean, there's nothing to break except the whole thing. You lose them.
Yeah, well, it was so cheap, all the toys were in half, and you had to piece them together yourself. They were still on the little plastic thing where you gotta rip them
Oh,
off.
oh, and assemble them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I need to buy a sander and the toy so I can sand off the little nubs of the plastic. But, yeah, I'm actually considering getting a 3D printer pretty soon just to print up her toys because I think that's the way to go.
That's a lot of 3D printing is not trivial.
It's not trivial, but it's worth learning because I can only imagine when she gets to be, 8 or 9 and she wants that new thing that just came out that's, whatever, and they're charging $40 for it, and I got to get
Yeah,
all, she's one of those people I know that's going to want to collect everything because she's already making checklists and saying, oh, I got to get that. I got to get that. I got to get that.
yeah, the hobbyists love them because they can fabricate parts for complicated structures that they're, part of their hobby, like flying apparatus and, funky apparatus that they're inventing.
Yeah, I just watched a young kid fabricate a robot arm with pieces and an actuator.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
like
they're
you need custom parts, yeah.
it's pretty solid. The new plastics are pretty amazing. They're 3D printing basketballs now.
Really?
Yeah,
Basketballs.
that's the new thing. The
Later.
NBA, they're not inflatable. They're made out of a rubber polymer that
Oh, I see. It's not a regulation basketball. Can you
well,
dribble
that
them?
you can dribble it. It's they're gonna switch over to it eventually, but right now they're still in testing. Spalding or Wilson, one of the big companies, is
Because,
selling them.
yeah, a lot of these professional sports have very strict rules on the apparatus, how the apparatus can be
Yeah,
fabricated and behave.
yeah, it's yeah, I grew up playing basketball, so if you didn't have the official NBA Spalding referee, this is the right weight, perfect, it was, it's you would think it wouldn't matter, but that your shot is going to change if you have a heavier basketball.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's going to be professional, if you're just, playing hoops in the backyard, who cares? It's just, it's just
Right.
doesn't
Those are
sound,
the rubber ones.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
do anything you want.
Yeah. It makes a difference. When I was a kid, I wanted to dunk a basketball, and you'd have to be able to palm it and hold it in order to dunk it.
Yeah.
And that's why people miss the dunk. You have to get at least this much over the rim, right? To just a little bit in the middle of your palm.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to palm it and then dunk it. So it's
You need big hands. I mean, if you have small hands, you can't get enough of an arc around the circumference to hold it. Basketball's
yeah.
pretty big
They're pretty big, yeah.
compared
But
compared to the span of your hand, unless you're got giant size hands.
yeah.
Same
Yeah.
with piano. People who play the piano have really long fingers. If you're got stubby fingers, you're really not going to be any good on a piano, except maybe a toy piano.
Unless you're really quick. You gotta be really fast
Oh
on
yeah,
the
but you haven't got the reach to span, enough keys. I've
yeah,
distinctly noticed that people who really go on the piano have very, very long fingers.
yeah.
Yeah, compared to your average person.
Actually, now that I think about it, there's keyboards that are shorter. So if you
I can't
can
use the super
recalibrate,
small, the really small laptops that have condensed keyboards. You're
Mhm.
so used to a standard keyboard that if you try to work on a keyboard that's smaller keys closer together, I can't do it. I'm sort of waiting for the time when keyboards basically become passe. I still keyboard almost all text. I know that you can voice your text, but I really haven't switched from keyboarding to speech into the device. Although theoretically, I guess I could begin to do that with most
I
of my.
think your computers are fast enough to do that now.
Yeah, and I mean with Siri and Alexa and was it Cortana? What's the
Cort-
name?
yeah,
Cortana.
Cortana,
Yeah, I mean they're
Bixby.
all basically able to take speech input, but I have never really made that transition yet. Maybe I should play with it and see if I can get any good at it. Because I also
Yeah,
noticed keyboarding is becoming more rapid. Like when I was doing those crossword puzzles, I kept typing, misspelling the word because I wasn't getting the correct key.
Mm.
And although I don't know how you do a crossword puzzle without a keyboard.
On the
How do you?
iPhone, it would have to recognize the input characters of it, and then it would.
But you have to tell it where on the tableau you're typing. How does it know where you need the arrow keys or the mouse to move your cursor to the right location on the crossword tableau?
You could do it letter by letter. You could just tab to the next one, tab to the next one.
Oh, yeah, it's true that tab and space will switch from one to that goes sequentially. That's true.
Yeah.
You can't tab. So maybe that will work.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the ability to read the letters on pictures inside of the Apple ecosystem. If you take a picture and there's a letter on someone's shirt,
Oh,
you can touch on that and it will highlight even weird fonts and things, and it will, I was using it for translating from Hindi to English
oh,
yesterday, and it was I was just taking a picture of the screen, a screenshot, and then I put it in Google Translate, and it took everything in the screenshot, all the different fonts, different sizes, and translated them all.
that's nice.
It's
Yeah, I
pretty
used
good.
to use that a lot when people would put up pictures that had text in foreign languages. That feature seems to have vanished from Google Chrome.
Hmm.
The search in images is they took that out some months ago and sort of got used to the fact that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I had some of the first when the iPhone first came out. That was one of the first apps I downloaded, was a universal translator for signs when you're traveling different
Oh.
languages. So
Yeah.
in 2010, I went to Ecuador and used it for, how to read a menu and stuff like that. But it was really bad back then. It's amazingly well. Like, it's night and day now. So I'm assuming I can go to Japan, stick on some AR glasses, and be able to read everything in English, all the signs,
Yeah.
if they're not in English.
Yeah. What's interesting is a lot of classic games have been reproduced in VR and full motion video. The one I was just watching, there was a game that Cyan put out in 1997 called Riven. It was the sequel to Myst. And that's just been released 25 years later as a full motion remake. But it's not just a remake in full motion. They've also changed the puzzles so that even if you remember the puzzles from 15 years or 25 years ago, doesn't help. They've modified the puzzles anyway. So
And what are the puzzles in the game?
well, you're in this. Riven is like 5 islands that were originally one continent that got split into 5 pieces, separated, and you have to sort of. And there's a story in it. There's a character-driven story as well. So you've got to figure out who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and how to save the imprisoned wife. And you also have to solve the puzzles of how to get to the islands and turn the devices on and crack all the codes and
So the codes open. It's like a scavenger hunt or something. The codes open things.
Well, a lot of puzzles are gated so that you gather information piecemeal from journals and other signposts that that disclose the information you need to crack the code to open the gate for the next gated puzzle. And Cyan had a policy of making really hard puzzles so that weren't trivial at all. They were very challenging, and so they they had fans would really spend, dozens of hours on these puzzles. And if you weren't going to spend dozens of hours, you had to look up the solutions, on the cheat sheets. And I found some of the puzzles that I just couldn't figure them out, even on the original game. I think the newer game, they made them easier. They made them easier to crack compared to the 1990s editions where the puzzles were really difficult to crack.
Probably less people were playing it. They said they gotta make it easier for the.
Well, I mean, their Myst game, which came out, I think, in '92, won Game of the Year, and it was the biggest selling computer game of its era because it came out on, like, was it CD? Maybe Ribbon was the one on CD. I don't, but yeah, they pioneered a lot of the game technology, but then they got overtaken by the combat games that were, the first person shooter games basically took over from the puzzle games as the most popular kind of game. They were much easier to make and more people can make them. The puzzle games they're harder to conceive and make really good puzzle games.
Yeah, one of the things I always wanted to do with these GCC conversation is create sort of puzzle games that if you crack it at the time that we're talking, it gives you entry into the conversation with real people.
Yeah.
I think that would be
that's one of the
pretty.
reasons that I like watching the puzzle videos, people solving puzzle games, because it is a demographic, which is a small demographic, but it's my people.
Yeah. There was a really cool Netflix show about this on like an interdimensional sci-fi level. It was called the it was Original Angel, OA.
Oh
is the
yeah,
name
I
of the
saw
show.
that. Yeah, I watched that series.
Did you see the second season where there was?
I think there were 2 seasons, and I think I saw both seasons. We're talking about 10 years ago, or close to 10 years ago.
Something like that. Yeah, the second season I think came out in either 2018 or something.
Yeah, so not quite 10 years ago, but yeah, there was a female character who was the original Angel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the first season was one thing. It was like a horror, sci-fi horror thing and psychological thriller. And then the second season was all psychological puzzle solving mystery. Like,
yeah, I I I have I don't remember a lot of the details of the storyline of the plot. I do remember that I did watch for sure the first season, and I think the second season. But the second season was different, as I do recall. It wasn't quite the same vibe.
I'm thinking in the spirit of Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland and the mathematic, like putting mathematics and puzzle solving into narratives and storylines. I find that that's why I like that Gödel Escher Bach book so much.
Oh
Of
yeah, I
all
love that's quite a book. Of course, that came out, I think, in around 1980, 80, 85, something in the 80s, I think it came out.
Yeah, 80 or 81, I believe, because it did win the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah, oh, that's right. And then The Mind's Eye, I think, came out 4 years later, or 5 years later, around 85. Yeah, I really devoured that stuff, but that was also a very refined audience, a niche audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dream is to take fantasy and sci-fi and narratives and movies and then merge them seamlessly with the cyber world and the real world.
Yeah.
So that way imagine you just start off, you're on a website, you're just doing what you're supposed to do, the normal thing, and then there's a little button hey, I've never pressed this button. You press it and it says, do you want to, like kind of like a war games, do you want to play a game?
Oh yeah,
And
right.
you're like, oh, okay, I'm bored. I got time to kill. Let's play a game. And
Yeah.
you start playing the game and it leads you down that rabbit hole of okay, now you're on another website that's telling you that you can go to this thing and download an actual video game. And then you do that. And then real people, it's a multi-level player game. So there's actual real people in there, but you don't know the difference between the real person and the non-player character.
That's right. Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it would be you pop in and you're talking to Barry Court and Sam and Josh on it, and you're like, wait, what the hell just happened? That was crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, when the Harry Potter books and movies were coming out, there were these groups that would speculate on the parts of the story that either had been revealed or not yet revealed, and they would try to put their conspiracy theories together as to where the storyline was going to go and
Yeah.
how it was going
There,
to unfold.
I think about 3 years ago, there was a popular app or website where it would had a random generator that would randomly put geo coordinates and send you to different places.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had to stop that. But
There was a story this morning, either on NPR or BBC, about a guy who was making a movie, except it wasn't a classical movie where the whole story is fixed once his movie is done. It was a computerized story, so that every time you entered it, it could vary. And he said there were like an astronomical number of variations. A lot of them were probably pretty minuscule, but it was never the same movie twice.
these are like choose your adventure, your own adventure.
A little bit like Choose Your Adventure. He didn't say how interactive it was, whether or not it was random or driven by the user's behavior. But he said that it had an astronomical number of various paths, but every path still had a story arc. It was able to retain a story arc regardless of which version, and no two versions were alike. So basically having a movie on a computer as opposed to on celluloid, so that it doesn't have to be the same scene every time. The scene can vary from one episode to the next.
Yeah, I think that's why people like watching other people play video games, because they're so high res and so interesting, and the
Right.
characters. It's like watching a movie.
And you can watch people learn their way. So when you're scavenging for clues in these puzzle games, the order in which you come across the clues and the ability to piece together the clues to get the necessary insight, and you see very large differences between players of how efficient they are in finding and piecing together the clues versus very haphazard and inefficient and drawing the wrong conclusions and wrong inferences and going off on these wild goose chases that don't make any progress in the game.
I think that's kind of what life is.
It's a very good model of life, of just trying to figure out how to find your way through life and not make stupid mistakes that cost you a lot of grief.
Yeah, there's living in a big city, it's like one wrong turn down the wrong street at the wrong time. That could be the game over right there.
And in real life, there are people who, just something happenstance happens and ruins their whole life. It's very common for people's lives to be ruined by some haphazard event that they got blindsided.
Yep.
The head of the Secret Service is probably going to lose her job.
Maybe. I don't know. That whole situation was very odd, if you will. Like when I first watched it, I thought, wait, this just doesn't feel
Well, I
something
mean,
is not
the crowd
going.
spotted the guy acting erratically an hour before the actual shooting. And
Is that what they're saying now? It's an hour?
Yeah, they pieced together videos submitted by people in the crowd, including one particular video, which is he's wandering around over by the building away from the crowd in a very suspicious way. But it turns out he was the person who was going to do this. He was spotted, and people had pointed him out to the police like 60 minutes before the shots were fired. And there was one local policeman who saw the ladder and climbed up to the roof and saw the shooter, but the shooter aimed his gun at him, so he ducked back down again and reported that, but nobody followed up.
Yeah, that one. I've heard that story, and that was the one that just went, that's, come on. The guy pops his head up, sees a guy pointing a gun at him
And
and doesn't report it.
no, he did report it, but it didn't get, nobody, somehow it didn't get followed up. So it was considered a serious lapse of security.
Yeah.
And probably the head of Social Security will end up taking the fall for that. But we'll
Well,
see.
I'm a victim blamer. So the first thing I did was blame Donald Trump for the whole thing. Because that's
Well,
just
I
who
mean,
I am.
yeah, I mean, he certainly played a role in creating the climate which that kind of assassination attempt occurs. But of course, I mean, virtually every president was the target of an assassination attempt, although not every assassination attempt carried out to an actual firing of a bullet. They got stopped.
Yeah.
Sometimes they got stopped and not publicized.
I don't know. If something is too unbelievable to be true, I find Occam's razor to come in and say, is it more likely that the assassination attempt was real? There were bullets fired, but he pretended to get hit in the ear.
Yeah. They actually found, well, 3 of the bullets hit real people, one of whom died, and one of the bullets that missed Trump, they found it hit some piece of equipment off to the side, and they found the
So
bullet.
let me ask a question. We've all watched that footage probably more than once. 3 of the bullets hit real people. Where in the video do they show those people getting hit? Because I didn't see any people getting hit in the video.
No, I didn't see a video showing anybody getting hit. I saw a diagram showing the layout of the space, and the
And
one guy,
here's another thing suspicious. Did you, and tell me, maybe I missed it. I didn't follow it closely. Did they release the names of the people who got hit?
they certainly released the name of the guy who died, and I think I'm not positive if they released the names of the people who got hurt but not killed. They certainly released the name of the guy who died. And there was also a story that Biden called the wife and she wouldn't take the call, according to the story.
Right. No, there's a lot of stories, but I'm saying what you actually see on the video. Do you see? I didn't see anyone go down.
I don't think there's any videos showing the bystanders getting hit. I mean,
Isn't
why
that
would,
strange though? There should be a
I mean, because
video.
why would people be cameras off to the side stands? I mean, there's nothing happening there.
No, it was a wide shot.
Oh, well, if it exists, I'm sure it'll come out in the investigation, but so far I haven't heard of any videos showing anybody other than Trump reacting.
Yeah. Maybe it's just the age that we live in my cynicism, but it just, nothing about that seemed like, I've been in shootings before and I've seen people react to shooting. If you want to watch one, I mean, there was that one where the guy out the window in Las Vegas at that country music concert,
Right.
you know, you can watch those videos and you can see how people react. And the way that the people reacted there was more like, I heard a noise, but I don't know what happened. That's what, if you see the people's faces, it's like,
Well, they said they heard a pop, 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 but the pop, pop, pop sounded more like a firecracker. Didn't sound like a gun. And you can't, and you're really not really very good at localizing it. He shot something like 4 or 5 rounds in 1 or 2 seconds, and that's not enough time to localize it.
I'm just saying, you can go on YouTube and watch. They actually have security cameras of different shootings happening and different, people going in and shooting up a place. And you can see the reaction of your average person when the person next to you gets shot.
They're bewildered. They don't parse the. I mean, they're professionals who are trained to do that. The average person is not trained to parse.
No, but Barry, I'll just show you side by side a real person getting shot and the person around them, their reaction. And then I'll show you the video of what we just watched last week. And you can put them side by side and you'll see there's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose the evidence and the data will come out in the investigation. It's only been a week. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the evidence hasn't been made public yet because it has to be analyzed and
Well,
interpreted.
it was a public event and there were a lot of people there with cameras and there's a lot of footage. So you can piece it together with the actual news
Yeah.
footage itself.
I mean, it's like the Zapruder tape. I mean, the Zapruder tape was on the Kennedy vehicle, but it wasn't on the crowd. They didn't have any people taking pictures of the crowd at the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, but you've seen the Zapruder tape and you saw the reaction of the people in the motorcade.
Well, yeah, the people in the motorcade, I mean, yeah, they're on high alert because they're on show. You know, they're in a parade with people watching them, so they're very aware of what's going on.
I'm saying when Jacqueline Kennedy watched her husband get shot and you can see her reaction was get out of there.
Yeah. Well,
She moved quick.
Yeah, actually, there was a piece of his brain that went shooting over the rear of the vehicle, and she tried to retrieve it. She climbed over to try to retrieve the piece of flesh that was blown away from his head. Of course, turned out to be a piece of his brain. She probably didn't know what it was, but turned out to be a piece of his brain that from the
I've
exit.
heard that. I'm just saying that the movement to me of the crowd was a little too slow. And especially, you know what I noticed when I saw the footage was wide angle and then comes in and you just see the people directly behind, and the people directly behind acted different than the people on the sides.
Well, the people directly behind could actually see when Trump went down. There were the only people who could see when he was, because there wasn't in a line of sight for the people on the side stands. The stands in the wings, you didn't have much of a view of what was happening.
Yeah, maybe we should watch it together because it's hard to.
Well, yeah, I would say
I don't feel like doing it right now, but yeah.
yeah, wait until they start piecing together the evidentiary hearings.
Oh, I don't care about those evidentiary hearings. It's
Yeah, but then they'll piece together the evidence in a coherent fashion.
the narrative has already been told. The story has already been told. It's cemented in the zeitgeist at this moment. So there's no.
Well, I mean, I heard the part of Trump's speech where he described it, but I don't take that as evidence.
Did you hear the conversation between Trump and JFK this week? That was the leaked phone call.
Trump and JFK? You mean
Yeah.
RFK?
I mean RFK. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
RFK.
No, I heard about it, but I didn't play that story.
Yeah,
I heard
RFK.
I heard that there was recording, and the problem is that the headlines don't tell you what the story is going to contain, and I tend not to follow headlines which conceal the meat of the story.
Yeah.
I figure it's clickbait for a non-story where there's you're not going to learn anything by reading the story, that because the headline would have made it clear that there was some meat to attend to.
Yeah, in my life, I've had these experiences where I'm in the meeting with the CEO or the people, the heads of the directors of companies.
Yeah.
And we have the official meeting. So that's like the media and the news when they're telling the story. It's the official PowerPoint presentation.
It's scripted. That's the scripted stuff.
The scripted stuff. Here's the show. It's like a magic trick. Here's what we want you to see. And then later at night, about 2 a.m. and 10 drinks in, and you're hanging out with the same exact people, and they just get loose and they start telling you what's really going on in the company.
Yeah, the Republican convention was so overscripted. I mean, it was you couldn't really believe that people were speaking their heart when they were giving these rah-rah speeches. And also, I mean, Romney wasn't there. I mean, Cheney wasn't there. I mean, all the people who've really come out against Trump.
Is Cheney still alive?
No, the Liz Cheney.
Oh, Liz Cheney. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if her husband, her father's still alive. I don't remember. He probably is. I don't remember him dying.
Yeah. No, Trump definitely has officially taken. I mean, he took it over, but there was still some sort of people that were not going with his agenda when he was president. But at this point, the whole Republican Party has moved to his side.
Except for the ones who weren't invited.
Well, they're not in the party anymore. They can't come to the party. It's a party without them.
Yeah.
You can't if you're not going to
It's the new Republican
play
Party,
nice.
which is the new Trump Party. The new Republican Party is a Trump cult. And it won't
pretty
last.
much.
I don't think it'll last. I mean, it might last 4 or 5 years, but after that, I think it'll, even if he gets elected, I mean, look at the number of people in his first administration who eventually turned against him.
I mean,
he lost more staff people, I think, than any president in our lifetime. People who
he's a bozo.
Yeah, they said, I mean, the Exxon guy said he was a moron. You know, the Exxon guy who was Secretary of something or other, Commerce, or I don't remember.
Secretary of State.
State. He said he was a moron, which he is a moron.
Well, I also was interesting this week. There was a satire on a comedy show I watch where a famous comedian was doing Trump. And you could watch him trying to do his mannerisms, like he had a 2-hour show of him in character as Trump. And he had to break a few times because it was just acting like that whatever persona that he puts on, meaning he's never been himself. He's always been acting ever since he was a kid.
Yeah. Well, he can't,
it's not a real person.
I mean, the way Trump talks reminds me of the way Colin talks.
Really?
I mean, he doesn't actually, a lot of verbiage, he doesn't actually say anything, just a lot of verbiage.
Gotcha. He says that's why I learned more watching a person imitate Trump than actually watching Trump, because he had to think in the moment and improvise what Trump would say in this moment. And you could see his wheels turning, trying to figure it out. And everything is tremendous and great or terrible and yuck. And that was the whole skit. The whole character was, that would be great. That's amazing. That's terrible. No one likes that. You're an idiot. No, that's awesome. You're amazing. We love you. No, we hate you.
Colbert did a bit where he took the audio or the transcript from the speech and but there was no video. So he had a cartoon of Trump reciting Trump's real words from the transcript in response to prompts that Colbert was, pretending to be the interviewer. So he would ask a question and then they would show this cartoon Trump reciting Trump's actual words from that transcript. And it was just words that say nothing.
Yeah. Words
that, he would speak words at the end of the verbiage that he didn't say anything.
Yeah. Psychologically, what I'm saying is that's a show. That's not real. That's not Trump. That's just the persona thing that he puts on. The real one is a different person behind,
what he says behind the scenes. I mean, I guess maybe there are some, like that phone call to the phone call to the Ukrainian ambassador and the phone call to Georgia, where those were real phone calls that he didn't know were going to be recorded and released.
Yeah.
So, and they're pretty telling. But what he says when he's up in front of a audience is gibberish.
Yeah. I'm just saying, when you're trying to push your will, so if you're a CEO and you need the stock prices to stay up, you need people to believe the narrative of this is what the company is doing and will do, then you can't go off the script. Like I've yet to see a CEO. This is why I failed as a CEO, Barry. I would go off the script and they would take one little thing that I said
Right.
that was not there, and they would scrutinize it, analyze it, and say that I'm an unfit leader and I'm not the right person.
Yeah, I can relate to that because if I want to say something based on research, I have to write it down because if I try to say it extemporaneously, it's incoherent. I've got
Yeah.
to write it down and edit it and get it so that it says the correct thing with the correct words in the correct order. 'Cause extemporaneously, I'm not really very good at presenting the product of my thinking and research.
It's all fake is what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
the way I look at it is the Democratic Party is melted, the Republican Party is melted, the two-party system.
Rule of law is failing. Which in some sense, I mean, even Socrates said the rule of law is has a fatal flaw, which it does. It says mathematical flaw in it. And we're seeing the examples of that fatal flaw more and more frequently. That last judgment by Judge Cannon, where she threw out the one case in Florida.
What was that? I didn't follow that story.
So the case where he had taken all of those secret documents to Mar-a-Lago, that case,
Mhm.
they did a Hail Mary. Trump side did a Hail Mary where they said Jack Smith was appointed as a special prosecutor in a manner that is not supported by statute or constitution. And she agreed with that long shot, and on that basis said Jack Smith is not a properly assigned prosecutor, so I'm throwing out the case.
That's how that case got thrown out.
Well, that's how she threw it out. Now the thing is that Jack Smith, well, the Justice Department will now appeal that first to the 11th Circuit, and then, if necessary, the Supreme Court, and it'll be overturned. But that's not going to happen for 7 or 8 months. So she basically got rid of the case for the duration of the campaign. And if he gets elected, then his Justice Department will just let the whole thing go.
Yeah.
But a lot of people look at that and they say the rule of law. I mean, this is the same. I mean, the Hunter Biden case was also a special prosecutor, and Hunter Biden's team said, "Gee, if Eileen Cannon's decision becomes the law of the land, then you also have to throw out the Hunter Biden case because it's the same deal of appointing a special prosecutor."
Yeah, these are just little loopholes.
Well,
Get the case thrown out.
it's the thing where it's not clear what's the authority, on what basis does the Justice Department have authority for appointing a special? They've been doing this for 30 years, been appointing special prosecutors for 30 years, and the same issue has come up and been knocked aside every single time except this one time with Judge Cannon in the Florida case. So she's basically overturning 30 years of precedent.
And that's standing because why? Why do they allow her
It
to
only
overturn?
stands in her circuit until it's overturned by the 11th Circuit. It doesn't.
But what if
technically
if you
doesn't
appoint
apply
all? But if you appoint your own cronies to the 11th Circuit, then you don't have to worry about that.
Well, that's basically Trump's strategy is to put his cronies into positions in the law. And it was just a luck of the draw that Cannon got this case because it signed at random.
That's the thing. Yeah, if someone tells me it's assigned at random, I want to check the dice. Like if you're
And-
rolling
and-
the dice,
Her colleagues said to her to recuse herself because she was appointed by Trump, and she refused to recuse herself. And then she slow walked the case and eventually tossed it.
yes, that's the easiest misdirection is to tell somebody like every magic trick, almost all magic tricks you see, the way that they pull off the magic trick is make you believe that it was random. and it's not.
Or misdirection, so you're not looking at the place where you would actually see the truth, the evidence of the truth. Make you
Well,
look the other way.
but
Divert
before
your
you're looking the other way, I'm just saying almost every magic trick is, hey, there's no way you can know this. And then they say it to the person, there's no way that I don't know these people in the audience. You random person. Like
They're not random. They're planned.
they're
Yeah.
not random, they're
Yeah.
planned.
Uh,
It's so simple, and yet people believe that because no, there's no way that they would play. No, they can't.
I was on the boardwalk, I think it was in Asbury Park or one of those places in New Jersey with a friend. And we walked into a show like that. And the performer called on somebody in the audience. And I said quietly to the person next to me, that guy's a plant. And the guy who was doing the show read my lips and kicked me out.
That's
It was a
but I'm
plant.
saying that's all you have to do is make people believe there's no plant. It's completely
Yeah.
random.
But the guy,
And then
I said, you know, that guy's a plant. And they said, hey, you get out of here. Which proved it, right?
yep,
No,
exactly.
nobody except my friend heard me say that, and he read my lips. So
Yeah. I'm thinking of thousands of times in my life where I saw the thing about to go down and I went, wait a minute, you guys shut up, get out. Like I've been kicked out so many times of
that's how you know that you're right when you're kicked out.
yeah. Yeah, there's so many times I go into to buy food at just a regular deli or just a store, and I look at the fonts of the way that they're describing the information of how to order, and I'm going, wait a second. I used to print up menus. I know this trick. This is just it's a plant.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not
It's a scam.
it's a
It's a
scam.
misdirection, you know. And the pictures of the food on the menu don't look like the real food, you know. The pictures of the food look fabulous, and what you get looks pretty skimpy and sad.
Yeah, I think the scams of giving the information that they want you to have been going on since the beginning of time.
Well, there was a famous catchphrase from the Laugh In. That's what they want you to believe. That was, you know, uh,
Yeah.
the Dick Martin would say, "That's what they want you to believe." That was his famous line.
Yep. Yeah, I was raised under two principles, which is one is the big print giveth, the small print taketh away.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then the other principle I was told growing up was if it's too good to be true, it is.
It's not true.
It's that simple. If it's oh wait, that's an amazing offer. That's an incredible deal. Like look at that. It's $159 off. Let's buy it quick before the sale ends.
So, you and I are both pretty cynical about the state of affairs in government, and politics, and with good
Well,
reason. I mean, it's grim. It's just grim.
yeah,
Sam says he's going to quit his job and move to Taiwan if Trump gets elected. Now, whether or not that actually happens, we'll wait and see. But it's
I think if Biden gets elected or if whoever takes his place gets elected, you still should move to Taiwan, not because of politics, but because it's a great place. Taiwan looks awesome.
well, he says it's great. He says it's a good place to live. He has
Yeah,
parents and an uncle who moved there from Hawaii and Texas, I think he said.
yeah. I don't think politics should be your reason for like because really things are run on the local level mostly.
Yeah.
Most of the except for your federal income tax, most of the things that affect your life are local.
So I'm admittedly cynical, and a lot of smart people are cynical, although they won't necessarily broadcast their cynicism because you can't get an audience if you're nothing but cynical. At least, I mean, certain people can be comedic cynics and get away with it, but it's hard to be a cynic if you're not a comedian and have an audience left.
It's true.
You have to do it in an
Yeah.
entertaining way, which I'm not terribly entertaining when I'm serious, so.
Yeah, I think I realized a long time ago is that everyone's trying to appease or please other people.
Right.
And in doing so, that is the trap of the puzzle that creates lines of like think of a maze. You have to go down these lines in these mazes till you get to the end where there's a wall and you go, wait a second, I just spent all this time going down this one pathway. Now I've got to backtrack, go back to where the fork in the road was. And it goes back to that famous Robert, I think it was Robert Frost that said, two roads diverge in the yellow wood. Sorry, I could not travel both.
Yeah.
If you take the road less traveled, that seems to be, it's not always the best road. It's not the easiest, but it's the most interesting and the most
Yeah, it's
challenging and the
the
most,
one where at the end of the road, you come out ahead.
or you come out lost, but you're lost and you discover something you never would have. Like, I love taking that path less traveled, and then I come to a place where I go, wow, this looks like no one's been here.
Right.
This is cool. Not many people take this road. I like this road. Oh wait, it's dangerous. Oh wait, there's animals that want to kill me on
Look at
this
the
road.
scientists that go
Okay.
to Antarctica or go into space or volunteer to go to the moon or Mars. They want to go to these places where it's very dangerous to go there, but and then they may have a disastrous. I mean, we've lost a lot of people who are adventurers, but
Yeah.
it's a calculated risk to be an adventurer. Takes a
Yeah, I'd
certain.
rather die adventuring than be bored to death
Die with your
not
boots
adventuring.
on. He died with his boots on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I'll probably
it's
die sitting in this chair.
yeah. I'll probably die up on that mountain. That's the plan is yeah, like even like Cusel and I live in a place where most Los Angeles people would not dare to adventure to. And when all of our friends come and visit, they go, this place is amazing. Oh my gosh, I wish I could live here.
Yeah, you've homesteaded the place. But
Well, not
homesteading.
where we're living now. We rented this place.
Oh,
We're
okay.
homesteading the other place, but I'm saying because there's a deterrent to get to where we live, which is a 20-mile road through the forest. And most people don't want to go that far off the 5 freeway.
Oh, because if something breaks down, they're stuck in the
Yeah, it's
wilderness.
just one road in and one road. There's
Yeah, and no cell phone, no nothing. So
there's cell phone actually. So technically, it cuts out for a little part of that 20-mile journey and then comes back in.
yeah, I mean, if you can communicate, it's much. I mean, people are on these lookouts. They got to be able to communicate with the base in case something goes wrong. In fact, that's why they're there to be a lookout. So
Yeah, I'm noticing there's levels of comfortability and fear and I think the pathway to a good transition of government for the United States is very scary because it means we have to actually put the power back in the people. And I think a long time ago, what was the beginning of the country when they had elective officials to, make sure that the people can't go crazy. Somehow it all got twisted up. I think we're living in the truest democracy because you can sway public opinion very easily and a angry mob can change. Like, just look at this Trumpian age that we're in. This is just angry people that were angry about Bernie Sanders. Everyone wanted Bernie Sanders. I mean, he was the populist choice. He was the popular one. They didn't want Trump. They didn't want Hillary Clinton. They wanted Bernie Sanders. It was just obvious.
and he went on. I think Colbert to say, vote for Biden. Don't kick Biden under the bus.
Yeah, what was that? I want to see the meeting 3 days before the DNC. What did they tell Bernie Sanders to make him get up on TV and tell everyone, I concede, vote for Hillary?
That I couldn't tell you. I don't know the answer to that.
Because whatever it was, when he sat there in his mittens in that one famous shot of him, it was all written on his face with his body language and those mittens, just going, fuck these people.
The other thing is my local congressman is Seth Moulton. And Seth Moulton said that he went with a delegation to talk to Trump, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And he's known, went to talk to Biden a couple of weeks ago. And Biden has known Seth Moulton for a long time, considers him a mentee. And Seth Moulton says, Biden didn't recognize me. He's not the same person. He doesn't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
Which, if there's any merit to that observation, that explains why Seth Moulton says he's gone. Biden is no longer a viable candidate. He doesn't even know his own people anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, even if he did, even if he had all his faculties, I think he's a douchebag. And I just watched, God, it was before the Bernie Sanders time. Do you remember when he was the vice president and there was footage on all the comedy shows and all the satire of him sniffing hundreds of little girls' hair? Do you remember this?
No.
Yeah, it's funny that it just once he became president and he became a real candidate and is our president, everyone just forgets that he would just sniff people's hair and creep out everybody.
I don't recall ever coming across that meme.
It wasn't a meme, it was literally 30 different moments of him just leaning over and going and sniffing some little girl's hair.
Okay, there you go.
Eh, that's a creepy dude.
What can I tell you?
And same with like Hillary Clinton when after they killed Gaddafi, that insidious laugh that she gave out of just
Yeah,
just disgusting.
she practiced that laugh to use against Trump. I don't think it was a very good strategy, but I understand that.
I'm just saying if we went back in time and Bernie declared himself at the DMC the actual candidate and said, I do not concede, I am going to run. If he ran against Trump, he would have won without a doubt.
It would have been nice. Although him being a systems thinker, I have this very cynical view that systems thinkers just never get very far.
I don't care if he failed miserably. At least we wouldn't have this Biden Trump age.
Well,
as long as if he failed miserably, then there could have been so many better candidates like Andrew Yang's or there could have been so many people to take his place. Even AOC could have ran and she could have failed miserably if she was even elected.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people are very worried that it's going to be a disaster no matter what happens.
Oh, the crash is coming. This giant, huge crash. There's no stopping it. This bubble is as big as it could possibly be. It's ready to pop.
Yeah, and then the question is, how will the country recover from the disaster? And the answer is, I don't know. And I probably won't live to see it. It'll probably take longer to recover than I have years left to live. I may be, in my senior years watching the fall of the great experiment that is America. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, what do I know about politics and prognostication? Next to nothing.
Yeah. I just have a lot of faith in the fact that if something fails miserably, then it's a vacuum and then it lets someone step up. It's kind of like what happened in the Arab Spring in Egypt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow that story.
Well, I mean, yeah, I remember the Arab Spring failed. And was it Mubarak who came into power? Was it Mubarak who came into power after that? I don't remember.
I believe there were several different groups that were trying. They all jockeyed for position.
Right.
So the point being is in any vacuum state, it creates that chaos, and then out of that chaos, it's usually more state. Meaning, if you mow down all the plants and trees, eventually they turn into decayed matter for the next planting of the new seed.
Yeah. I just don't have high hopes at the moment that we're going to find our way out of this morass. Of course, we also lived through the Vietnam era. That was a morass that lasted a decade. It was terrible.
Well, if you could live long enough to watch, I guarantee, if Trump does become president, that won't be the first assassination attempt. And I'm pretty sure whoever this JD Vance guy is, he will end up becoming the president.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Even if Trump does live, I think I don't know if just it's like human nature. Like you have this goal that you want to attain, and then once you attain it, you're done. So I think his body is going to give out in this next 4 years. I don't think he can last, just whether he dies of natural causes or gets assassinated or just.
or just loses interest because he's reached his
Yeah,
goal.
exactly. That's what I think is going to happen. The minute he reaches his goal, he's just going to kind of step aside and do kind of what
He'll let
George
Vance
Bush
take it.
Jr. did, is just
Yeah.
play some golf and hang out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's going to be an active president doing anything other than just appointing
Judges.
dim-witted crap people. Like, in other words, it's really going to come down to his administration is going to have to try to figure it out.
I don't think he'll figure out a way to save the country. I don't think he will. Or the people around him will. But
What do you think it looks like to save the country? Like, meaning economically?
Basically, we need a 21st century operating system for governing human affairs, and we have an antiquated, anachronistic mechanism in government. We need to reinvent government from the ground up using 21st century concepts, systems thinking concepts, which is why Bernie is on the right track. He's just too early. He doesn't have a following yet. The following, the 10% of the people who are systems thinkers at best, or followers of systems thinkers like Bernie, and the other 90% basically haven't a clue. They're not educated enough to understand the concepts.
Yeah. Well, I personally see, if you watch the movie Idiocracy, it's turned into a documentary.
Yeah, I
So
get that.
it's everything is automated, everything is working, but everyone is idiots.
And even the world-class experts still screw up. I mean, you've got this CrowdStrike, world-class people doing, software security, and they made one little mistake in code in an update and didn't do it on purpose. These were, top-ranked people made a mistake. People make mistakes, even if you're best in class, you still make mistakes.
Yep.
And not every mistake gets caught. The Secret Service made a mistake, and nobody caught it. Look at the software that has bugs in it that you just takes a long time to find. There are bugs that have been there for 15, 20 years before they're eventually found and fixed. And they were created by the smartest people who were trying their damnedest to make correct code, secure code.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the operating system and the bugs in the system is in the way that humans interrelate and solve problems together.
Well, that's the whole point of collaborology, is that can we come up with a way to collaborate where we succeed and not end up, having electropolitics.
I don't think we have to come up with a way. I just think we have to try. I just think it's not a question of whether you do it right or wrong. It's a question of whether you're doing it. Are you, like, talking about talking is not talking. Like saying, okay, we'll have that conversation next week. And then that week comes around and you go, oh, you know what? I'm busy. Let's do it 2 weeks from now. Okay. Oh, wait, you know what? I can't. You never had the conversation. You never collaborated.
There's evidence that it can be done. James Webb Space Telescope was an example of a group of people collaborated over 20 years and succeeded. And then there's examples where people collaborated and it the Hubble had a bad lens, the Mars landing, had the wrong parameters, the
Mhm.
security update had the wrong code. There are sometimes, there's no mistakes, and sometimes there are mistakes that didn't get caught.
Yep.
Boeing had a quality control process that they let slide.
But those are the big, huge mega projects, but the little ones like just the road to your street, they
Yeah.
collaborated, they laid the pavement. It didn't get slick in the last last rain. People didn't fly off the road. It worked. I mean, there's so many. They poured cement on the sidewalk, and the sidewalk didn't crack. It's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, some sidewalks have cracked over time, but I'm saying all in all, people
in
are riding
Chi-
their bicycles down the road without whacking into stuff.
In China, they had a heavy rainstorm that collapsed a bridge yesterday.
Yeah.
A rainstorm that was beyond anything ever seen before, and it was enough to wash out a bridge. 70 people or something like that died.
But if we counted up all the bridges in the world, I think that's somewhere over 500,000.
Oh yeah.
So those are working, and until they're not, but I'm saying more thing. I guess what I'm trying to say is optimistically, more things work than don't work, but we
Oh
always
yeah.
focus on the thing that doesn't work.
Well, because when it doesn't work, there's hell to pay.
Right.
I mean,
But
people
I'm saying
die, and
in
computers go down, and systems fail, the internet goes down, or something, some important system stops working, and everything is monkey wrench gets thrown into the system.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's not an everyday thing. It happens, once every 5 or 10 years. You get a catastrophe, and then the bridge in Chesapeake Bay got hit by a oversized boat that they didn't have boats that big when they built that bridge.
Yeah. I think I'm going to stick to being an optimist because I truly believe if you do enough traveling, you'll see that 70% of all people everywhere not only are good people, they're great people. And not only are they great people, but they'd be willing to help you out before they help themselves out.
Yeah. Well, that was Anne Frank's. I believe that there are good people, she writes in her diary. But her whole family was wiped out, in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Who couldn't stop the Holocaust.
But
Anyway, it's 15 minutes past the second hour, so kind
all
of.
right. Yeah, let me let you go. I just want to really just dive deeper into optimism at some point and just use it statistically and logically because the
I could
logic
use I
shows.
could use a good spiritual uplift to become optimistic, because right now I'm in the slough of despond, as the poets would call it, the slough of despond.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've been so in that slough for so long that now I have no choice but to be optimistic because there's nothing left but up.
Yeah,
I feel like we're hitting rock bottom at this point.
we are. I think we are. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe by next December we'll know whether or not we're out of the weeds or deeper into the slough of
All right.
despond. All right. Take care.
Cheers. Take care, Sam.
Let's see. So it's 15 minutes after the second hour, Sam. Okay. And I'm going to exit.